Good morning, friends. It is Lisa Mason Ziegler coming to you here on the farm for a surprise Saturday morning. I am so pleased to say that Gretel of Sunny Meadow Flower Farm is going to be joining me for a few minutes, and she and I are going to be talking about her online course that just opened for enrollment today. The name of the course is Growing Cut Flower Crops in Hoop and Greenhouses. And we want your questions related to the course. We're going to talk about the questions that we're getting already in our inbox about the course and how courses work and what you can expect and just kind of how that whole shebang goes. So I'm just going to give you some of the details before Gretel joins. Oh, wait, maybe she's already here. Nope. Waiting for Gretel. She'll give me a shout out and want to be here on our video with me. So we'll just wait for Gretel to join. But if you are not familiar with Gretel and Steve Adams of Sunny Meadow Flower Farm, I want to first tell you, you have got to follow them on Instagram. Their Instagram feed is full of so many incredible videos and pictures of what they're doing on their farm. And their farm is located in Columbus, Ohio, which is winter hardiness zone 6A. So they deal with snow load, cold temperatures, and they grow in 18 structures as well as out in the field. So they have heated and unheated houses. They have been farming for 16 years, and so they just bring an incredible amount of great level of experience to what they're doing. And I just watched, and I want to tell you that you can get to their page on our website, the Gardener's Workshop, by going to my profile and just following it, or you can always find their course over at thegardenersworkshop.com. And as I was just kind of like perusing the page before we came on here to remind myself of everything, there is the best video that was done for Slow Flowers about Steve and Gretel, and it's them telling their story. I mean, it's the sweetest thing ever, and it really tells you about where they came from and how they built their farm. It has stuff like, so I'm just waiting for Gretel to ask to join in the video, and then we'll bring her on. But anyway, I watched the video really quickly, and I mean, it tells the story about Gretel saying that when she first met Steve and he was living in an apartment, he had gardens in 3 different spots. And anyway, you have to check out that video over on the page, and I did Gretel up, and so she'll be joining us so that we can talk more about all of this good stuff. Hey guys,
Hey Lisa,
how are
how you
you
doing?
all this morning? Good and frosty?
Yeah, it's cold.
Yeah, it's morning for sure.
So I was just sharing with everybody that I went over to your course page just to kind of refresh my memory, and wrote down all the dates and all that pertinent information. And I watched that video. I think Deborah Prenzine had y'all put it together, the little slideshow telling your story. And it is such a great story. I had to actually end before I could finish it because I had to come on here. But y'all's story is so familiar to so many people that didn't go to school for horticulture, right?
Mm-hmm.
That were first generation farmers, just like I was. And so I just think it's a very inspiring story. And I'm just inviting everybody to go over and watch that incredible video. It's really well done. So today, we are announcing that Steve and Gretel's once a year enrollment into their online school, which is called Growing Cut Flower Crops in Hoop and Greenhouses, opened this morning at 8 a.m. And it'll be open until November 23rd, which is like the eve before Thanksgiving Day this year. And for those folks that don't understand why we just open enrollment once a year for these big classes, it's because of the depth of involvement from the instructors with the students, as well as the time that the students kind of have to commit to participating in the class. You don't have to consume it all at one time. But the way it actually works is enrollment is open for the next 5 days, but their class doesn't start officially, excuse me, until January 4th. That's a Wednesday. Every Wednesday, starting on the 4th, every Wednesday morning at 8 a.m., when you log into your online library, there's a whole nother slew of sessions for their class. And we're going to talk with them in here just a minute about what the different weeks are about. But you get those new sessions, and then you get the opportunity to watch them at your pace, at your leisure. However, at the end of that week, on the next Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern time, you have a live Q&A with Steve and Gretel. And that Q&A is not only recorded and put into your library, but you also get a companion time-stamped layout of the Q&A, so you can like peruse it to actually go in and look for specific answers. So it's a pretty amazing class. And because of that, we only offer it once a year. So your question is, what are you going to do between now and next year at this time to up your game and learn more? If we all have barking dogs. I had a barking dog during my podcast this morning, Gretel. So anyway, so you have what I think as a business person is, if I'm not gonna learn and up my game and potentially build my business from something like this, what am I going to do in the next year before it's available again to actually push my business forward? So that's all I'm going to say about that. So Gretel, so we're letting them kind of get their situation there resolved. So the course is actually 6 weeks long. You get a total of 7 live Q&As with Gretel and Steve, as well as you get the previous recordings of the Q&As. And we love it. I know that a lot of our students are on here coming and going. When they post that emoji, that is their flag to say, hey, I'm one of their students or a student of our courses, and you can actually reach out to them about their experience. So Gretel, I think one of the questions that we're already getting in our inbox is, who should take this course? Who would be a good fit? Or who wouldn't be, I think may even be the easiest answer. So talk to us about that.
Yeah. Sorry about the barking dog.
That's all right.
Open right now, and so we were trying to figure out what was the best way to have him not barking, but apparently that's not the right answer. So, so you know, I think it's good for both people who are starting and people who are advanced. So we talk about all of the planting dates that we would use, but then we also talk about, if you were just starting, here's where I would begin. So right. I think that people get kind of overwhelmed thinking about like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for this. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
I understand so well.
Bedroom. Pinto. So I think that it can be for anybody who is thinking about growing stuff in hoops or who already is. So anybody that wants to extend their season, and that's for us was the main reason why we started growing in hoops, because outdoors we can only have flowers, maybe June through frost, July. So this is a way for us to have flowers March through November. So it gets us in earlier with the florist. It helps us hit the floral holidays with Mother's Day and Easter. And so all of that is, a really important part of building the business, helping with cash flow, helping retain employees, and just really working beyond just those summer crops.
And another question that we get often, and I know from years past, so somebody will say, well, I'm just starting out in flower farming, and I know that I hope that I want to have a structure one day, but I'm not there yet. And I know in years past you have addressed and said, well, not only you, but even some of your past students have shared this, that not only do you help people figure out best location, best style of greenhouse to purchase, um, and then everything beyond that, but the information that you guys have in this course that is packed about planning, pest and disease control, and the management of all that can really apply even before you have structures, right? I mean, the
Mm-hmm.
scouting for insects and when to plant what crop is pretty widespread, right? Applicable to all different areas.
Yeah, so even if you're, just producing outdoors, just talking about the scouting and just like management, yeah, being proactive, some of those like practices. And yeah, like you said, if you think that you might have a hoop, because I think sometimes people will wait until it's like emergency, the class doesn't start until January, but I need to buy it right now in
Right.
November, kind of.
Right.
So, like, if you think that you might buy a hoop next year, then this would be a good class to sort of like be armed with that information when you're going shopping for one, or when you're thinking about like ground prep, those kinds of things, about crop selection. So that way you can get bulbs ordered, get the greenhouse there, get the ground ready, thinking about utilities, if you're going to heat it, that kind of stuff. So that way it doesn't have to be like the greenhouse is showing up in December, but the class is
Right.
January, kind of.
And you know what else comes to my mind is I know that you guys had a snow collapse greenhouse, and had you known what you know now, that would not have happened to you, right? I mean, if
Right.
you, and so I feel like, and we totally unrelated, but I am the rabbit hole queen. So, we're putting an addition on our home, and something just happened this week in the process that's going to be pretty costly. That if had we known
Mm-hmm.
before the foundation was put in, it would like totally remove half of the cost, and not to mention my anguish from the last 48 hours over thinking about that.
Yeah.
It's like if only the architect had caught this, we could have taken care of it before the process started. And so then you kind of go down that rabbit hole of how much money are you going to save by investing in this course and learning. I mean, even if you don't do deep dive learning on everything you're talking about, to get that overview to say, oh crap, I didn't even realize that was a consideration, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then that way you can be prepared, because I think that that's why we talk about like the stuff that's in the class or things that we learned the hard way, because it was like we didn't
Right.
realize what we should be looking for like with aphids until it was like, wow, these things are totally covered and we're like throwing flowers out. So
Exactly.
had we had an experience with that and kind of been taught a little bit more about that, then I think maybe we would have known what we were looking for. And yeah, I mean, we set up our greenhouses in like a different orientation, where like had we thought about us having as many as we do now, maybe they would have been facing the other direction and all the doors been like along one road. So just those kinds of things that we like visiting farms, and so it's like this is kind of like visiting our farm, like being able to see the setup and understand like where things that we did right and things that we did wrong, so that way you can take those like pieces of that to what you're doing.
And something else that my husband shared this with me years ago, because I think I used to be one of those people that I would put blinders on, and it's like, well, if I don't know, it's just going to go away or whatever. Just because you don't know a piece of information does not mean it's not going to affect you. Do you know what I mean? It's like that, like not knowing the insects, the pests are there, does not mean that they're not there. I mean, and as silly as that sounds when you say it, I would be willing to say the majority of us do a lot of that. in
Mm-hmm.
a lot of different, whether it's talking about finances and money. And that brings another example up, Gretel, that I think of you every time I hear somebody talk about this. Is I know that you don't do a super deep dive on this, but I know you do on some of your Q&As, in fact, from the past, is about the core, the conference that we were both at together. And y'all two spoke before I did. And you were talking about how you started doing enterprise budgeting. And
Mm-hmm.
it was because y'all figured out forecasting your year on a very loose way that you were not going to have enough cash flow. You were going to have a short period
Mm-hmm.
before your cash flow really caught up with your expenses. And that led you guys to do an enterprising budgeting. And talk about that for a minute. I mean, the more I'm thinking about this, I think that anybody in flower farming could truly benefit from this course. Talking myself into it right now. So talk about that for a minute, y'all.
Yeah, so we started with the enterprise budgets because I think that we just wanted to make sure that we were growing things that were the most profitable in the greenhouses. I think when we started, we thought of it, when we started with the greenhouses, we were growing salad greens. And then when we switched to flowers, we were utilizing it more as like, oh, well, we'll plant late sunflowers or we'll try early larkspur or something like that. And it was like, what was happening was we weren't getting the best like money's worth out of the space that we had. We weren't sure what we were doing really. And so I think once we started heating the greenhouses and once we started steaming like greenhouse beds, we were like, this is a lot of input. Like we need to make sure that like these crops are actually like worth it. And so that's when we really got the information, I think, of figuring out, is it worth it to heat ranunculus? Like, is it worth it to steam these beds for like disease control, for the extra like labor that it takes and like input and stuff? And so I think, yeah, really tracking and the ones that we use came from Richard Wiswall's book, or from the University of Vermont that he works with to create the sheets. That's like a series of Excel sheets, which I mean, take a long time to figure out all of those inputs. But what we started with was just saying like, okay, everybody time everything you do today and just like try to collect data or pick one specific crop. Like, when we had a question about, are sweet peas really worth it when they're only 2 rows per bed? Like thinking about that amount of space versus like we can plant 24 snapdragons per foot, or we can plant 4 sweet peas. Like what is the production difference, and like as far as the output of the profit per square foot? So I think it really helps you sort of think about it in a different way. And like Lisa said, it's that's not what the whole class is about, but there is week 2, we do talk about that, and then we did kind of a deeper dive in one of the Q&As. One of our employees joked and said, have we ever run an enterprise budget on how long it takes to do enterprise budgets? Because it takes a lot of data gathering. So I think it's something that's like maybe after a couple years of 2 or 3 years of being able to really really hone your craft and figure out like, how much do I actually harvest off of this bed? How long does it take me to harvest a bucket? How much does it cost me to run the tractor, like, or in the greenhouses to run the heater, that kind of stuff. So
Again, I mean, it's just one more piece of the big picture
Mm-hmm.
that they get a snapshot of. That's,
mhm.
did you know this is even available? Because a lot of people, I think, don't even know this type of tool is available out there. So I think that we've established that who should take this course? Anybody that's involved in the cut flower industry. I think there's a level of learning that will go on, whether you're gonna be hopefully getting a structure in the future, which I think is the person that has the most potential of value from the class to save them from buying the wrong kind of structure or putting it in the wrong place, to the people that are already growing that maybe are not making the most out of it. And then even taking the seasoned farmer that's growing in them and potentially helping them see there is even more profit or a better management style. Because I know that one of the weeks actually talks about the venting and all this stuff that people, I think, don't realize. It's a whole nother world growing in structures, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's like a whole new science behind it. Like you are controlling the climate and the weather. I think here I saw someone's asking, "What? How do we heat? We heat with natural gas here." So that would just depend on what utilities are available to you. But we're also very cloudy here. So in the winter, if you're going to be growing, thinking about humidity and condensation and plant health in that way, and sort of adapting. It's not like the summer where the sun comes out and it absorbs all that moisture and it's nice and warm in there and growing temperatures, but there are sunny days. So figuring out how do you manage that. You don't want such a huge swing in the greenhouse of it being sunny and hot and then it being, this morning it's 17 degrees here, so like, but the sun is out. So this is one of those days where it's really cold outside, but once it's sunny and those houses are warmed up, they're going to need vented. So just sort of thinking about those practices. I think that people think, oh, it's cold outside, so just leave everything closed up, but
Yeah, not that simple.
you really
I
need
wish.
that air exchange. So we talk a lot about that in week 5, the management strategies of ventilation, sanitation in the greenhouses too. I think that's something else. When you start, everything's brand new, and so you don't have to worry about that. But after you've been growing in them for a few years, then that's when you can have disease buildup and algae and things like that, and wet spots, which can lead to fungus gnats, and just sort of like, I think Stanton Gill said, you think you don't have pests, but they'll find you.
Yeah.
Like you don't know what it is that you're looking for. So, so just like, I think for the seasoned grower, just talking about some of the more advanced issues, sometimes in week 6, when we talk about pests and diseases, I think people get a little bit overwhelmed and, or maybe even discouraged, and it's like, you're not going to have all of those things happen at once. It just is
this is our
over.
experience over the last 16 years.
So it's, you figure one thing out and then it's like, okay, now we know how to deal with downy mildew. Well, we fix that, and then the issue becomes, well, now it's warm enough for rhizoctonia to like live, or you figure out how to deal with the aphids that come in the spring, and then now you have a new aphid that has like found the greenhouse, and that one needs a different beneficial or something. So it's always, we always say farming keeps you humble, because it's, as soon as you think you've got it figured out, there's something else that like happens. So
True. So I want to just stop for a minute and pause. I saw that somebody asked a question of how much is the course. So I'm just going to give the facts here for people. So the course is $595 or 2 payments of $317.50. That helps you out at all. Registration is open until Wednesday, November 23rd. It only enrolls once a year. Everything is online and you can do it at your own pace, with the exception, well, if you want to participate in the live Q&A, they are on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Eastern time. They're recorded, put in the library, time stamped, and have a companion to help you find, maybe if you submitted a question but weren't there to watch it live, so you can actually find that. And I also wanted to mention that in my profile, the top of the pile is going straight to their page on our website, the Gardener's Workshop. And my involvement here is the Gardener's Workshop actually publishes, I'm like a book publisher, but I do it for online courses for some of my peers that I handpicked, y'all, to be, because of their passionate teaching gift, which is the most important thing in my book. And the only thing second to that is their level of knowledge and experience. And that's what we've chosen. And Steve and Gretel, I mean, they are lifelong learners, as they mentioned earlier, just like me. Neither one of them went to school for horticulture. They're self-taught farmers through participating in things like we're doing, all talking about today, conferences, online courses, going to universities, working with other people, having mentors. And really, we have based the building of our courses around that whole kind of mentorship kind of model. And we do that through the weekly Q&A, and they answer all the questions submitted, y'all. We don't cherry pick a few questions and answer them. We answer all the questions submitted, as well as we have an optional during school closed Facebook group, as well as an after school alumni group where all students are able to join and continue to have contact with each other to support and help, as well as Gretel is in and out of there, and Steve answering questions. So you pretty much have access past that. That's the big difference between going to a conference. I mean, I remember back when we were all traveling so much and you go to a conference and speak to 300 people. Well, there's no way you can answer emails from all those individual people in the months following your talk, right? I mean, you just don't, there's not enough time in the day. So we
Mhm.
developed our model to be able to answer questions, do it publicly for the group so everybody can benefit from it. So go, you can find all of that, but I wanted to mention that on that page, there is also the video that Steve and Gretel made for Slow Flowers a couple of years back that tells their story of going from not being farmers to the whole walkthrough, and lots of great images of their farm, as well as there is a video there. You can watch how our online courses work if you're not quite sure how that works. Then we have frequently asked questions about courses that are there. And then you can also, there's a video that I did, or I'm not sure if it's a video or a Q&A. Sorry, I didn't click on it, about our course style, which I just kind of shared a little bit of that. Our courses are not entertainment. They are about information and providing it so people can actually access it after the fact. So Gretel, what would you say to anybody that might be on the fence about not sure if the course is right for them?
I would say if you're thinking about it, then it's a good time to sort of like make the jump. If you think that your business is at a point where you are like considering expanding, considering, how to fill more winter hours for employees, wanting to have more to offer to florists than just your summer crops, like any of those things, the flower industry is growing, the
Yes.
demand is there. And, this year there were, I think they set a record number of weddings. So like, we sell to florists, but we also sell to grocery stores. We've got a farm stand on the farm. Like what we're doing is it's mixed wholesale and retail. We're selling online, so you'll figure out kind of the sales outlets that work for you. But if you're looking to offer more to your customer base, whatever that customer base is, people love ranunculus, especially in the spring. They're really hungry for flowers. It's, if it's been a cold, dark winter, then they're ready for blooms to help make them feel better. And hitting those floral holidays, it takes for us on what we can make in sales on Mother's Day, it takes until the whole field and all 80,000 dahlias are blooming in September for us to match the sales that we can make of what we can do in the hoops for Mother's Day.
For Mother's Day, yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So, it's definitely is worth the extra like stress and investment. I think a greenhouse for us is what we found to be the quickest return on investment, as far as being able to turn it around and make it, have it make you money, basically. You can build a processing barn, or you can build an office or something like that. But those things, it takes more time, more years for you to actually see the money turnaround from that. But a greenhouse, it's a direct, you put up the greenhouse, you plant the crop that year, and then in the spring it's producing money for you. So
One of our attendees here said that she just signed up going into her 4th season with many tunnels. I would love to really get into profitability. It's everything. And I think it's so easy, you know, especially when you just jump in and you're not really aware of the whole farming world. You
Mm-hmm.
get so over your head so quick that then you really just all of a sudden one day wake up and realize I'm working my butt off and I'm not being profitable. That's so easy to happen to people. And I think that this course is just a really great tool. So I wanted to mention again that you can go straight to their sales page to enroll in the course right through my profile, or you can find it at thegardenersworkshop.com. I'm sure it's on Gretel's profile as well. If you're not following Sunny Meadows Flower Farm on Instagram, you need to, y'all. The videos they post of the flowers they're growing in houses is just gorgeous, but it's amazing. And you'll just get a little glimpse of what type of stuff you will be actually learning about. So the course is $595. We do have a payment plan. You can go to that page as well as learn and watching that video about them. There's the syllabus, which is the outline of the class. There's 6 weeks of courses, which once you buy the course, you have unlimited lifetime access to those videos. You just have to have internet and being able to log into your online library, and they're there for you. So friends, we just encourage, and I'm sure Gretel and I and Steve will be back again in the coming days to answer more questions. If you have a burning question that you really feel like it's holding you back from registering, just shoot it to the info at the Gardener's Workshop or DM me or Gretel, and we will do our best to answer that for you. And I mean, $595 when you're thinking of the potential avoided errors and mistakes. Let's talk about putting your house. I know somebody this happened to where it gets flooded every time it rains.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
What's that solution? Move your greenhouse, you
Yep.
know, and that is costly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I just appreciate you guys. I know that y'all dahlia sale is wide open, your tuber sale. So I know y'all have a lot of work to do, and I'll let you get back to that. And then I'll see you, um,
Monday.
I think it's Monday that
Yeah.
we're together again. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, friends, please shoot us a question. Any doubts, questions, or concerns, just shoot us a message and follow Sunny Meadows Flower Farm to see more of the opportunities that are hidden in this course. All
Great.
right, friends. Thank you guys for joining me.
Thanks,
Bye. Thanks for
Lisa. See
having
ya.
us.
Welcome. Ciao.
Bye.